I never thought I'd be writing about this. Not for myself, not for anyone else, and certainly not to share publicly. But life has a strange way of throwing you into situations that leave you both shocked and questioning everything you thought you knew. When my father passed away last winter, I thought my grief would be the hardest part. I had no idea that the days and weeks that followed would shake me in an entirely different way. My father had been married to Helen for 12 years. She wasn't my biological mother. My own mom had passed when I was a teenager, but she had been my dad's partner through some of his happiest and hardest moments. I respected her, even if we weren't especially close. The funeral was quiet, solemn. We buried him on a cold Tuesday morning, the kind of day where the air feels heavier than normal. I went back to their home that evening, not because I wanted to, but because I felt I should check in on Helen. She seemed strong in front of others, but I could see her hands trembling as she poured tea. For a week, I stayed at their house, helping with paperwork, sorting through his things, answering phone calls from distant relatives who suddenly wanted to know how they could help. Grief isn't just sadness, it's chaos, and someone has to keep the ship steady. On the 7th day after his passing, I was in the guest room when Helen asked me to grab a box from her bedroom closet. She was in the kitchen at the time, talking on the phone. I walked into her room quietly. The curtains were half drawn, letting in a strip of pale sunlight. I found the closet door, opened it, and scanned the shelves for the box she'd mentioned. That's when I noticed something unusual, a small, faded shoebox on the top shelf. It wasn't labeled, but there was something about it that made me curious. I reached up, pulled it down, and the lid shifted slightly, revealing a flash of something inside. When I opened it, my breath caught. Inside were several unopened packs of condoms, still sealed in their packaging. For a second, my mind couldn't process it. Why would Helen, a woman in her late 50s, recently widowed, have these in her bedroom closet? I quickly put the lid back on and slid the box into the same spot, feeling as though I had just stumbled onto something I wasn't supposed to see. My first thought was confusion. My second was hurt. I didn't say anything to Helen that day. I didn't know if I even wanted to. But the thought gnawed at me. My father had been sick for months before his passing, far too ill to well, you know. So why were those there? For 2 days, I kept it to myself. Every time I saw Helen, I wondered if she had any idea that I'd found them. I started second-guessing everything. The nights she'd stayed out with friends while Dad was in the hospital, the strange phone calls she'd taken in another room, the way she'd sometimes avoid eye contact with me. Finally, on the 3rd night, I asked. We were sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of chamomile tea in front of her, the steam curling up between us. Helen, I began, my voice steady but my heart racing, when I was looking for that box in your closet. I found another box. I found some things that made me wonder about a few things. She didn't speak right away. Her hands froze around her mug, and she stared into the tea as if it held the answer. After what felt like a lifetime, she said quietly, "You think I was unfaithful to your father." The bluntness of her words made my stomach twist. "I don't know what to think," I admitted. Helen set her tea down and looked straight at me. "They're not mine. Not in the way you think. I bought them years ago for your father, when we hoped his health might improve. We never used them. After a while, I just forgot they were there. I should have thrown them away, but it felt wrong. Like throwing away hope." Her voice cracked on that last word, and suddenly, the tight knot in my chest loosened a little. I didn't know if her explanation was the full truth. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I saw the way her eyes welled up, and for the first time since my father's passing, I saw her grief break through the surface. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the things we find, the ones that shake us, aren't necessarily evidence of betrayal. They're reminders of the complexity of love, of the ways people hold on to hope, even when the world says it's time to let go. I didn't press her further. Some truths, I think, belong to the people who carry them. That night, as I lay in the guest bed, I thought about my father, about Helen, and about the strange little box that had caused so much turmoil in my mind. I still didn't have all the answers, but maybe I didn't need them. Life, after all, isn't about neatly tied endings. It's about learning to live with the questions. And I've been doing that ever since.